The forums.
The streamers.
The blogs.
The gamer.
The tweets.
The streamers.
The role players.
The player.
The forums.
The bad.
The blogs.
The good.
The enthusiast.
The spotlight.
The spotlight.
The spotlight.
Good evening and welcome to episode 8 of The Spotlight.
Yes, welcome to the Spotlight. Wow, we've made it to episode 8. This is awesome. We are the Spotlight, and we are on Blizz Pro TV. We cover all things Blizzard, World of Warcraft, Diablo 3, StarCraft 2, Hearthstone, and we will be covering any of Blizzard's upcoming projects as soon as we have more information to play with. So let's get this party started. To start off with, we have the Mumble Queen herself, Sosa. Hey, Sosa, how's it going?
Hello! I just heard good news. It sounds like I'm going to be the new star of Disney's new movie, Frozen 2. It is freaking cold here.
Wow.
Well, you know, the stars in our midst. That is awesome. So, hey, leader of our Free Thinkers Geeky, what is going on with you? Are you going to be the next Tom Cruise?
Wow.
So
I don't know.
like,
are we talking like risky business Tom Cruise, cocktail Tom Cruise? I mean, there's so many different like areas of his career that I could just plug into.
See, I can see
Dancing
the
on the Oprah couch.
the remake of Top Gun.
Oh gosh.
I could see you being Maverick.
Oh man. I don't know.
I want him to be dancing on the couch of the Oprah Winfrey show? Tom Cruise.
Yeah, can I be
that.
like pre-crazy Scientology Tom Cruise, because that would be cool. I'd be all for
that
that.
would be
Yeah.
better.
So yeah, let's go with that. But I'm good. I'm good. It's warm today. It's 55 in the Midwest.
I hate you.
Nice and warm
I hate
today.
you too.
It's okay. It'll be like 20 in Blizzard tomorrow.
Yes,
And-
yes.
It's
that's just
minus
how we do.
40 here.
Is that
Oh,
Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Celsius.
Celsius, that's right. Crazy.
Yeah, I
Canucks.
use real.
Yeah, we're behind the
temperatures.
times.
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
We
Yeah,
use the
use
real
Celsius in the metric system, and
Oh gosh.
yeah, we're behind the times. It's all right.
Yeah.
Speaking of behind the times, I'm Darrow. Sorry for the late introduction of myself. I am the one-armed wheelman of the clone car. Wahaha.
We're gonna
so
crash.
Get out of. Yes, we are, because I only have one arm, so I gotta switch sides to your ship.
helmet here.
So as long as we don't crash and burn too hard, let's get things going. The community has been a buzzin'.
Buzz, 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 buzz. That's
Yes.
right.
So we have had a whole big PvP discussion going on with the forums. Our wonderful Blizzard community managers have been nice enough to release information. The devs and everything else have all been pretty open about what they want to see with PvP gear in particular, but also as it relates to PvE gear with the stats and all the simplification of the stats. They want to make the gear more clear cut, but also not so far off the mark that, okay, you PvE all the time, your guild begs you, not that I ever know what that's like, to go into, a battleground here or there, just to hang out. You don't have to worry about trying to, get a whole bunch of gear right away. You can still go in with your regular gear and not get your face squished in at least for 5 seconds, as opposed to the 2 seconds it normally is. So I mean, it was a pretty nice discussion on the forums, where they really spelled it out as far as simplifying, all the stats and just make it a little easier to understand all the breakdowns. But the thing that really got me the most was some of the things that had nothing to do with the gear itself. But things like, players want to see a PvP dummy, a dummy that interrupts. How great would that be to really know what your true DPS is against a dummy that can interrupt you?
Mm-hmm.
I just think it would be really good to figure out, really where your stats need to be. if you can lessen maybe that interrupt chance or things like that. I don't know. What do you think, Kiki?
I think the dummy would be a good idea, and I think I shared a lot of the same comments that people had in that thread, like, wow, this is a really good idea. Like, why haven't we thought of this before? It's just one of those moments. It's like, duh. Like, we had this game for 9 years, and no one had the go-getter attitude to make this suggestion before. But no, I think that'd be good. It would give PvP players a little more. It'd give them a chance to be a little more nitpicky with their statage and their gear, and kind of bring up an element from the PvE side of things into the PvP side, because
Right.
I mean, I think a lot of the game focuses on PvE. That we see, a lot of the PvP sides like streamed with arenas and stuff like that. But I think that a dummy would be good. I think it would be a nice little nod to the PvP community. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, show them some love. I mean, other than just having them have their own vendors. Give them something a little more to really work with. What about you, Sosa?
Well, I'm not a PvP fan myself, just never interested me. But it is interesting that Blizzard is trying to help them out. Like, there is a fairly large PvP community now, and they are a very vocal community, and they really haven't been given too much until recently. Like, as they say, they're constantly just getting hit with nerfs and stuff like that, and they're always saying PvP's the red-headed stepchild, which for something that honestly wasn't originally in the game, was added later and has been kind of slowly tacked onto. It is pretty much a second thought. But it is interesting. I can see difficulty with making a target dummy that could silence someone, or how do you base it off of something? I mean, it's easier to base it off of a raid boss, because you've kind of got an idea of what kind of stats or health you're looking at for a raid boss. But in PvP, fighting a Fury Warrior is completely different than fighting a Disc or Shadow Priest.
Right.
So you've got to wonder, like, are you just looking at silences? Are you looking at fears? Are you looking at snares? What kind of health are you looking at? What kind of resilience are you looking at? Like, are we going to be having, like, battleground level guys and arena level guys, just like there are regular target dummies and raid boss target dummies? So you've got to look at all of that, and different classes are going to be able to do different things and react to different ways. Like, a melee class isn't really going to care if you throw interrupts on a target dummy, because they don't use any spells or anything that really can be interrupted. They're going to be the ones who are worried about your up close and personal stuff, like your snares, your fears and stuff like that. And whereas the ranged classes that don't get up close, they don't often get hit with fear and stuff like that unless someone gets right in the middle of them.
Right.
But they're designed to stay outside. They're going to be the ones interested in silences and polymorphs and things like that. So you're balancing that. I can see a lot of trouble with it, but I do like the fact that they are considering that as an option. They are looking at it and possibly going to see if they can find a way to do it. It would need to be something that would scale, though, with every arena season, because every arena season the gear gets better and better. Even the baseline gear, they always come out with a new baseline that you can acquire somewhere, and you need to step up the game of the target dummy to that, because people need to know what they're going to do against the new stuff. So
and you're certainly not going to get a PvP target dummy to, say, life grip you.
Yeah.
If you're a hunter and you're standing back, you face DKs. What do? They they grab a hold of you and they pull you in close. They can beat the snot out of you.
They pull you in, they pull you close. You've got warriors who all of a sudden jump up and are right in your face.
You have rogues with their sneak and their backstab, and then you're stunned for like 10 seconds and you can't move because of all the stuff that they do. I mean, certainly they don't have target dummies that can do all of that.
Unless they literally have 11 target dummies, one that qualifies as each class.
Well, what if they did something akin to Brawler's Guild?
Or the Proving Grounds.
But
yeah, I was about to say that.
But you could pick almost like you do with Hearthstone, where you pick, like in practice mode, you pick the deck you're going to go against.
Right.
Um,
Make it a menu, a UI
Right.
where you just pick and
Mhm.
choose
And so
like
you
this
say
class.
yeah, I want to go against a DK.
It's like a proving grounds, but for the PvPers.
Yeah,
Right.
and
And get like a DK that's in there. I mean, it obviously won't be as smart as a player because players could be either better than the AI or in some cases worse than the
but
AI.
it would still
Yeah.
give you something.
Yeah, it would give you an idea of how you would react to certain situations. Like if you're a ranged character against the DK, what are
Right.
your options when they do life grip you? Are you going to deterrence? Are you going to blink? Are you going to do what?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would give you the idea of what your numbers would look like, but in terms of instinct and predictability, I think it would be difficult. It's kind of the other end of the spectrum because a dummy is not going to react at all. It's just going to stand there and it's just going to have a certain amount of resilience, and then okay, my numbers are doing this and that, but it doesn't give me a realistic idea of how I would react to their movements. But at the other end, a AI or something like that in a brawlers type situation is going to be almost predictable in a sense, like it's not going to do the same thing every time, but it's not going to have that instinct. It's just going to be a series of algorithms that it's processing out,
Right.
out till the very end. So I think it would be good for beginning PvP players. It would be good for expert PvP players in the terms of looking at their numbers. But I mean, in terms of learning tactics for this combination or whatever, I don't think it would be good for anyone, that's not a novice.
Right.
And I'm a novice, so maybe it would be good for me.
Yeah, but I mean, just having like I said, the proving grounds, against an AI would give you at least a little bit of idea of what you'd be up against,
Right.
and maybe some ways you could do, kind of figure out, I mean, every race has a racial cooldown
Yep.
that helps them do something,
Right.
but those are like 2-minute cooldowns.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
What if you had to figure out, just like with raid bosses, well, when do I blow this?
Yeah.
Should I waste it on a life grip, or should I wait for the sap, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It
I mean,
might be good for
obviously-
timing.
I mean, obviously every battleground is going to be a different makeup. You don't know of what class mix is going to be on the other side necessarily,
Right.
but at least you can have an idea of, looks like their alliance, or their the alliance is rogue heavy or something. This battleground,
Right.
I know how to deal with this.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I could see
go ahead.
I could see a proving ground being maybe slightly better for like a PvP proving ground. I could see it being a little more learning your toolbox.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the thing, is there are spells that classes have that you might not realize are better in PvP for certain situations.
Right.
Or have different abilities that you might not have been aware of. Something like a proving ground would also help you learn your toolbox a bit better.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
You'll never be able to know 100% what you're going to do against someone else, because a lot of PvP is a dance. You're reacting to how your opponent is doing. Like if your opponent is busy trying to wail on a healer, you're going to jump in and beat on him while he's not paying attention.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're never sure what's going to be happening. Like beating on someone who's beating on a healer is one thing, beating on someone who's beating on you is another thing entirely.
Right.
So I think it would be really good for the I could see a PvP dummy working a little bit for your numbers, but numbers really don't make up that much in PvP. It really is all instinct and practice and stuff like that. So I could see it being an interesting thing that people want, but I don't know how useful it really will be.
Yeah, and the argument, you could take the same argument and you could copy paste it into PvE, because people will stand outside and just spam lightning bolt on a dummy, and they have some number that they come up with, and they think, oh, I'm doing this much DPS, but in reality, it doesn't account for anything
move out of
whatsoever. Yeah, it doesn't account for 90% of the rest of the fight. It doesn't account for like firewall movement. Doesn't account for jumping out of this. Doesn't account for dodging this or stop DPSing right here or resistance in a
Switch
specific
target.
fight. Switch target. AOE. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense. I mean, and that's the downside of dummies in general, is that it only fits a certain narrow window of situations. If it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm gonna stand here and just blow up a boss like Altraxian, and I don't have to really do anything except hit a button every so often, you know, and that's it. But with PvP, it's kind of the same thing. I mean, in our hypothetical situation, we don't address the fact that, you know, PvP is half line of sight issues. You know, I'm trying to dodge this guy. Oh, this guy is hiding behind the pillar to heal himself or to res his buddy. You know, like it is tough to make a perfect situation training scenario for both things. And the closest thing that PvE has come to is LFR, because, you know, it's so watered down for a majority of the player base by now that we're this far into the tier expansion, what have you, that it's just kind of like autopilot. But, you know, unless they could do some kind of arena type version like that, where it's you and your buddy, or just you, or however you want to do it, against a 2s, a 3s, or a 5s computer that can simulate that as well. I mean, that would be like long down the road, you know, way hypothetical.
Well, you know, but I applaud the community for, you know, trying to be involved.
Oh, definitely.
And say, you know, hey, Blizzard, you know, we would like to see something that helps us with this, you know, whatever the issue is. And I think that's good that the players are communicating with Blizzard in...
Blizzard's answering them.
Well, in a nice way. You know, they're not just crying, you know, oh, nerfed paladins again or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's legitimate conversation. It's, hey, you know, there's this need that we feel is here. You know, what can we do about it? And Blizzard is trying to respond to it and trying to find answers for it. And I think that that's great. You know, and I think it's funny, you know, you were bringing up, you know, PvE fights, you know, raid fights, they're geeky. Sosa, what do you have to tell us about what's going on with Siege of Orgrimmar?
Siege of Orgrimmar. Well, Blizzard just released some new patch notes, and they are going to be adjusting the difficulty in Siege of Orgrimmar in very few fights. Like, there's only 4 fights that they're really doing adjustments, and I believe that, one of them is heroic only. So, or is it 2 of them? Oh, no, 2 of them are heroic only. So this is only going to have minor effects on the heroic raiders. So they are pretty much just, what they're doing is they're just making things slightly easier for smaller groups. That's the biggest problem they're doing, is some of these fights, like Galacras and Thok, which is the big proto-drake and the dinosaur.
Yes.
Both of those fights have been, from what I've heard from other raid teams, they're pretty much a big stop point.
Yes.
You pretty much hit a wall against them, and the biggest reason is that most people are raiding with smaller groups.
Right.
These fights are are apparently much, much easier in larger groups, because you've got all the extra DPS and things like that to deal with them. But Galacras, you're literally splitting half your raid team at one point.
Yep.
To go running around, so the groups that are coming down are taking longer to get knocked down because you've got only half your DPS.
Right.
So they're reducing...
Thok runs everyone around.
Thok runs everyone around, and it's pretty much just... all they're doing with him is they're just reducing the damage from his roar. They're not changing anything else. They're just reducing the damage slightly. And in the Galacras fight, they're just reducing the health of those waves of ads that come at you. So they're not changing the fight in any significant way. They're not changing the difficulty.
This isn't a nerf bat?
This is not a nerf bat.
That's what, like, every other comment on the forum was, oh, there's a nerf bat.
See, people see this stuff and they think, oh god, it's a nerf bat. They're changing something. They're not looking at it from a raider's point of view, or someone who's listening to other raid groups. We've got 7 raid groups going in our guild right now, and every one of them I've heard the same thing. I'm stuck on Thok. Thok is kicking our butt. A lot of them have gotten past him at this point, but a lot of them had that moment where they were stuck on Thok for like 3 weeks or more.
Right.
They're just lowering the damage. They're not changing the fight in any significant way. They're just lowering the damage of his roar, so that way the smaller groups don't have to all of a sudden deal with this huge spike as they're all feared. And with the Galacras fight, again, all they're doing is they're just lowering the health. This isn't a nerf. You're still going to have to fight these guys.
Right.
It's just that split up team just has to cast maybe 1 or 2 less spells, or can get that wave down before the next wave comes.
Right.
So it's not bad. And the other 2 are changes in the heroic modes, because they found that the difficulty curve was slightly too steep.
Right.
So they just weakened it slightly, but they're still making sure that it's a steady progression in difficulty.
Which it should be.
So, yeah, exactly. It's exactly as it should be. And all they've done is just reduced they've just done tiny tweaks. These are not big things. A nerf would be if they freaking came out and they said Thok is no longer fearing anyone.
Right.
That would be a nerf. They're just saying, Thok's big fear, that's still happening. It's just going to do a couple thousand less damage.
Right.
So you're not going to drop, you might drop from full to half your health rather than full to one quarter of your health.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it's a nice change, and admittedly I looked at some of the complaints and I'm like, have these people not done these fights?
Well, I think they just looked at, we're changing something with the raid.
Yeah.
Because there was a slight imbalance with, like you said, with the heroic difficulty. The curve was a little too steep.
Yeah.
It wasn't the more steady, difficulty that they wanted. And people just assume that they're putting shackles on all the fights and making them easier. We've seen it, we saw it with Ice Crown. We've seen it, it goes through, right? Every time they at some point, bring out the Nerf bat and make it a little easier to get through. And one of the comments I remember seeing of somebody saying, why are you nerfing Siege of Orgrimmar? Because there's still so much of the expansion left to go through. Why would you nerf it now? And it's like, they're not nerfing it.
It's not nerfing. What they're doing is, honestly, they're making it easier for the 10-mans and the lower, and like the 10, 11, 12-man flex teams. This isn't, it's really not going to make any huge difference to the 25-man raid teams or the larger flex teams. It's going to have very, very little difference to them, because they're still going to take step apart a lot faster than your 10-man teams.
Oh, of course.
So this is really, the only change to this is to the 10-man teams who are struggling, because this is a pretty big wall, and you have to ratchet your DPS up a lot higher during these fights. So these are your stop gaps, and they're just making sure that that wall that you're trying to climb over, maybe they've given you a slightly better rope or taken down a couple of feet off the top of it.
Right.
So it's still a fight. You still have to climb that. You still have to climb that wall. These fights are not easy. You're still going to have to deal with the same mechanics. If these troops have a little less health, it's still not going to help if someone's not killing the healing healing stream totem, or if people aren't prepared for the fearsome roar and stuff like that. If you aren't doing what you're doing, you're still going to wipe. It's not a nerf. If a nerf would be if they made it so that way you can't wipe on the thing anymore.
Right.
They're just making it a little easier for the smaller groups going in, and with the heroic raiders, they're smoothing out that curve so that way they're still climbing up. It's just not all of a sudden going from a little hill to a sheer cliff.
Right. All right. So you heard that, everybody. This is not a Nerf bat. It is just Blizzard doing adjustments.
The Nerf bat's still in the closet.
They're doing a fix.
For now.
That's what a patch is.
It's tweaks.
They're doing a fix to something that was a balance issue. So
read it carefully and think about it before you start crying about the Nerf bat. Really, just look at it and think about it.
I think it's going to happen. I think the bat's going to happen real quick.
Well,
I believe it, because they like patterns. They like following the same schedule from previous expansions. Dragon Soul is just like ICC, and they did their every 2 weeks. It's going to be, damage is increased or whatever, or health decreased by 5%.
Those weren't Nerf bats. They were just adding in easier. They were just adding in stuff. They were
I would
adding
call
in
it a
buff
nerf. It was a
yeah,
it was a toggleable nerf.
it's an overall nerf, but it's not a nerf bat because you can turn it off. You have that option to go in and turn it off if you choose, and I do know groups that went in and turned it off, but it's not a nerf bat because they're not sitting there and they're not beating on everything. They're just giving everything an overall 5, 10, 20%.
I don't know.
Really,
That might be where we differ. I think it's a bat, and I think the bat's going to happen again. I think that what they're doing right now is
Of course, it's going to happen.
Everything
They're going to do it to get everyone through.
Everything, yeah, exactly. Everything they're doing now is just they're looking at numbers and they're like, all right, it's been so many months and no one's gotten, or not as many people have gotten to this point, so we're going to do it again. And then as soon as they have closed beta come out, then they're going to be like, all right, in 2 weeks we're going to do 5%, and then they're going to try and get as many people through normal content so they can get their heirloom weapons, and then they'll be ready for all this stuff.
Right, but we've got to get the Warlords of Draenor and PTR first.
Yeah,
I don't think we're going to see.
No, we won't.
Any adjustments to either a buff to player skill, to your stats to beat the boss. Or the reverse, taking the boss
nerf,
down a few pegs to make him easier to take down. Either way, it's making the boss easier to take down so you get through it. I don't think we're going to see any of that until we have Warlords of Draenor and the PTR.
Yeah.
Because normally they don't start doing that until they have the next thing ready or getting ready to go. So we'll see. And hopefully by that time, maybe we'll have some in-world, preparation mini events going on for Warlords of Draenor. That would be a lot of fun.
I can't wait to see what they bring out for that. They brought out some interesting things in the last ones, according to that. I remember all the fun stuff, the lore, and all the fun stuff leading up, the elementals, leading into the cataclysm.
Elementals are great. Speaking of, the expansion, and obviously them doing stuff, Geeky, what has everybody been freaking out about?
Everyone has been freaking out about the boost to 90 ability that was going to be a little more available than what we originally thought.
Say what?
Yeah, I know. So there has been some talk about the fact that you can pre-order Warlords of Draenor coming up here fairly soon. There's no official date. Everyone keeps speculating, next month or in March. So there was a good article that Val Nimsil from BlizzPro staff wrote that talks about some things that we need to take away from this news about the new expansion and this ability to boost to 90. So when you are purchasing Warlords of Draenor, you're going to get a free boost to level 90 right away. We don't have to wait for it to come out. We don't have to wait till September, October, 10 years from now for it to actually come out and it's in your hands or in your hard drive. No, as soon as you click buy, you get your little boost to 90 right away. And then Blizzard is also kind of throwing around if you can purchase a character upgrade directly. I also talked about how we don't know when this pre-purchase is going to happen, but it will be soon. Both standard and digital deluxe editions are going to be available to buy and pre-order, and you're going to get a pet in amount right away. So there's a lot of instant gratification from Blizzard. I think that they've done this system many times in the past where they've had, hey, you're going to sign up for 12 months right now. We're going to give you X, Y, and Z, and it's going to be awesome, and it's like Christmas.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing. And then along with this article, Crow wrote kind of a response to all the hate about this boost to 90.
Yes.
Also on BlizzPro. He wrote it on the 18th of January, which was yesterday. It's a good article. So you can head over to blizzpro.com and check that out.
Yes, it is. It is the response to why it is not the end of the world as we know it. To have your level 90 token, or if Blizzard does decide to allow you to buy level 90 tokens, or in the future perhaps level 100 tokens in the Blizzard store for real money. Sosa, I know that this is definitely something you have an opinion on, so we'll start with you before we get into what I have to say on this.
Well, the interesting thing is that the early 90 is digital only. So for the people like myself who want that hard, fancy, nice, shiny box, I have to wait still, which is fine. I have no problems with that. It is kind of cool that they're letting you get the mount and the pet early. But the whole 90 thing, I've been thinking about it, and honestly, it doesn't bug me. It really doesn't bug me. They're making it easier, and I mean, people are already doing everything from double boxing to recruit a friend to heirlooms to using the monk's ability to speed level 90s. And
The carousel.
honestly, yeah, they're using everything they can to speed level because the leveling has been done.
Right.
The people who are going to be looking at the leveling are going to be the new people or the lore hounds like myself who are just masochistic enough to go leveling one more time because we want to see the quests in Westfall again. Whereas there are people out there who have leveled for so long, people who've been playing since vanilla, who've done all the leveling. We've leveled a number of classes. We may not have leveled every class, though I have. But, you know, we just want to get up to current content. And that's what I like, is they're bringing us up to current content, but not above it. They're bringing you to 90. You have to work your way to 100. If they do put out the pre-purchases, they will only bring you up to 90, not up to 100. You're still going to have to gear yourself. You're still going to have to get your professions in order. You're still going to have to do all your other stuff, which is why a lot of people are kind of excited about being able to get your 90 early, is you'll have a little more time to practice with your class. You'll have a little more time to gear yourself up for the expansion, because pretty much if you're in questing greens, and you're moving from one expansion to the other, you're usually running into problems, which is why they put in the quartermasters in Mists of Pandaria and eventually backtracked and put them into the Cataclysm stuff.
Right.
Is because that gear drop is so huge. And hopefully the item squish will bring that down somewhat, but there's still going to be a bit of a jump from one expansion to the other.
Oh, of course.
So it gives people a chance to gear up a little bit and get all their professions and stuff ready, so that way they're not like the day of Warlords of Draenor. You don't have a bunch of 90s running around the old world trying to mine all the ore and get all the herbs and all of that stuff.
Right.
So you'll have a little more time to do it. It'll also give people the chance to do quests, run around, do a few dailies, do a few quests, get a little more comfortable with their class. Like, I've leveled a balanced druid in the past, but if I was to boost a 90, maybe I'd want to do a protection druid.
Sure.
You know, try out a tank spec, you know, but how am I going to learn that? I'm going to have to go into low-level dungeons, or I'm going to have to go into dailies and stuff like that to practice it. It'll be a lot easier to do that at 90 when I already know all the content than it would be to move into new content with a character I'm not familiar with.
Right.
So there's all of that. And as for the buying a 90, EverQuest has done this.
Right.
EverQuest came out with you could buy stuff that would bring you up to current content. It has not destroyed EverQuest.
No.
In fact, EverQuest is still alive. In
It
fact,
is.
EverQuest, I believe, said that they've actually got a few more people than they used to have before they did this, because people were able to get their friends and family to join, and they were able to get up there. They could go back and do the old content if they wanted on an alt, but they could get up there and they could play with their friends immediately.
Right. The existing friend didn't have to go and make an alt and go through all the low-level stuff.
Or rush them through stuff. They can go through and enjoy that in their own time, but they know they've got that character that's at the current content. And so long as they make the pricing fair of it,
sure,
I think it'll work. Like, I say make it $60. It costs about $55 to do a character transfer and a realm transfer. So if you make it a little more expensive than that, I have no problems with it. That's just my opinion, and I don't think the sky is falling. Blizzard is the master of seeing what other people have done and doing it better.
Right.
EverQuest has done this. I'm fairly certain there's other MMOs that have done it. I'm just aware of the EverQuest.
Right.
And they haven't died. They got a little bit of flack for it, but overall the community got used to it once it got out there. Blizzard's going to take that idea, they're going to make it better, and everyone's going to complain about it when they start, but it'll get better in the long run.
Right. Now,
So-
what about you, Geeky? I know you have a totally different idea behind all of this.
Yeah, and you know, while she was talking, I was half listening, half reading Crow's article, and I really man, and I haven't seen him touch on this yet, and that's good because otherwise that would have totally took away from my argument. But I don't like. I guess boost to 90 once you buy the game. That okay, it's whatever. I would rather see kind of what they did with Death Knights is like, oh, you have a max level character. Okay, you're entitled to make a level 55 DK. I would like to see some kind of prerequisite in place for that. Like you have so many, you've done your time, you can buy it. Like not, you have 190 or you don't have one at all. You can buy one, fresh out the gate with no experience. And the reason I say that is because I don't like freely giving things over to people. And I think that Blizzard is guilty of doing that over the years. And the reason that they do that is because the player base is different than it was 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. It's not the same at all because it's a lot more, the average Joe type player now. It's not, the crazy. MMO. It's not even an MMO crowd anymore. It's like I know
the MMO crowd has changed.
Yeah,
the MMO crowd used to be the diehards.
It's a bigger crowd
so
now.
it's become a lot more open.
Yeah, and
well, like Geeky said though, I mean, so you have to remember the people coming into WoW and Vanilla coming from EverQuest, which was brutal and unforgiving.
I was fresh when I came to WoW.
WoW was actually quote easy compared to EverQuest.
Yeah, it was.
But it was by no means the cakewalk, so to speak, that it is today. Sorry, go ahead, Geeky.
They each had their difficulties and unique difficulties, but so I think so like I said, I think there should be some kind of prerequisite, like you have to have so many 90s or something like that to unlock this ability to pay. But I think a fresh 90 out, if a fresh 90 when you buy, I think that's fine because that's like a perk. I could see that. That's like a one-time thing, but I can see some people, and I know that there's many of them out there who just have access to a credit card or lots of money, and they're going to go nuts, and they're going to have a ton of 90s, and I think that's wrong. I think it's completely wrong because it creates such a negative space between different player groups because some people have to scrap and save and hide their nickels and dimes away just to pay $15 just to play a month at a time. And when you have that guy who it's like Blizzard's dangling this little cat toy over those people, and it's like, oh yeah, you could be cool like the rest of these people that can buy 90s, but you can't because who knows how much it's going to be. I bet it's not going to be cheap. I bet it'll be at least $25 or $20 per 90. And I think that's a lot of money.
More than that.
Yeah, I could too. And I think that that's wrong for that fact because you're already taking a situation where you have LFR that has this negative space. I think Crow talks briefly about the veteran player base and the not so veteran player base, and how it's a worse situation that it can't get any worse. I don't know if I agree with that entirely, but I'm just saying like it's a bad situation. Why would you add fuel to that fire? I think that's bad because some people don't have a whole lot of time to play in general, and I just think that it needs to be looked at a little more carefully. I think that it could be a good thing in the future. The steps to get to that point need to be really well done. Otherwise, I think it's going to blow up in their face. And I think that the Blizzard this could be a really bad opportunity. And a lot of MMOs in the past, like Star Wars Galaxies, for instance, come to a pivotal point in the gaming, like, I don't know, destiny or whatever you want, like timeline, where they do something like really big that they think is going to be really awesome, and then it totally flops and the game shuts down. And for Star Wars Galaxies, it was, from what I remember, for those out there who have played, it's when they made the Jedi process really easy, and like all these people could become Jedi, and it was really simple. And then no one played the game anymore because like that novelty was taken out of it. And I don't want to see something as trivial as buying 90s do that to WoW. And I'm not saying that it could happen. I'm just saying that it's a step down a path that it could lead to that. And
we're talking about slippery slopes here.
Oh yeah,
and it's always been, because I know at least with looking at commentary about this particular subject. When Blizzard first said, hey, as soon as you click, finalize payment, right? For your pre-order of Warlords of Draenor, once it's available, you get the free 90 token, you get your mount and your pet right away. People were already starting to scream and talking about, what's next? Why don't they just put, your entire raid gear tiers in the Blizzard store, and you
Right.
can just pay real money and get full tier gear and not have to work for it at all. That's the problem with slippery slope arguments, is it's really easy to take it to that next crazy level.
It's too easy to go extreme.
Well, right. And I think, right now we're only looking at Blizzard's giving a single free 90 for every individual key for Warlords of Draenor that's bought. That can, that's each purchase gets one token. So if you have 2 accounts, you have to buy it twice. Okay, so then at most gives you 2 tokens, but that's 2 separate accounts, because those tokens, I'm sure, are tied to that account key.
Yeah, you'd need to do the character, and maybe then you'd have to get it switched to another account if you wanted to let it
Or
switch.
something, right. So,
yeah.
So, I mean, and of course there's the argument of, well, then we're going to be overrun with people who don't know how to play their class.
We're overrun with that already because of, like I mentioned, you've got the recruiter friend, you've got the people doing the heirlooms, the people who are doing all of that stuff.
Well, if you combine, like, the carousel, the Darkmoon carousel, and you're a panda, and you have the quest, right, that you do to give you the XP increase, you're in a level 25 guild.
Monk, yeah.
You're in a level 25 guild.
Mm-hmm.
You're a recruiter friend, and you've got full heirloom gear.
You got like 300, if not more, times experience. You kill a rabbit and you've gained 3 levels.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, it's even without heirloom gear, just all the other stuff. You're done, right? You're out leveled before you even know what half of the spells you just got are, because you don't have to go to a spell person to buy them anymore. You just get them. So you just gain your next abilities. And the way that they've redone the talent trees, the way that they've redone abilities and stuff, a lot of times your core abilities you don't get until your higher levels anyway. Okay, I have a prop paladin. Okay, I do not have consecrate.
No.
I don't get consecrate, I think, until like level 50.
Yep.
Okay, I have another 25 levels to go before I get consecrate, which is like the core, like, prot pally tanking thing.
Yeah.
So, and we all know from doing, random dungeons at low levels, right, to get the little sack of free loot, right, hopefully get something you can wear. A tank really isn't tanking.
No, they're just zerging it.
The healers have, like, maybe 3 heal spells if they're lucky.
Yeah, unless they're a monk, then they've got like 1 until they reach like level 50.
Right. I have a rogue that's, level 30 something, right? I have like 3 abilities, really. I mean, I'm not at a point where I'm dealing with big bosses where I have to worry about timing kick.
Mm-hmm.
Or things like that. It really just, a lot of those core things that you see when you're higher level, you don't really have until you're that higher level. So, and if
you're not really learning your class until you reach those higher levels.
Right. And I mean, sure, there might be a few people who've never played WoW before that decide to buy the whole package, right?
Mm-hmm.
And use that free 90 token. I guarantee they know somebody who plays WoW, which means they're going to join their guild, which means if they have questions on, hey, how do I play a warrior? There's going to be somebody there who can kind of explain, besides what the tooltips give you, no, this is kind of what you need to do if you want to be a tank or if you want a DPS. You're not really left out in the cold.
There's also tons of resources between YouTube, which has people who literally have videos that run down exactly how to level that kind of character, what kind of gear you're interested in, complete gear breakdown to rotations to everything like that. You've got all of the stuff you would need, and quite frankly, in a couple of the characters I've leveled, I didn't learn how to play them until I hit 90 anyway, and could actually sit down and play them instead of just leveling.
Right. I mean, so, it's, so that argument's kind of moot. And even if you do have all those resources, or even if you have, say, leveled the character from level 1 all the way up to current level, which right now is 90, I see so many people who, whether they're heroics or LFRs, who you're like, how did you get the gear that you have?
Yeah.
Why as a rogue are you doing 20k DPS? Like, are you just sleeping at your keyboard? I mean, because people don't want to try because it's an LFR, they're lazy, or they just don't care. It's not really a true measure of whether or not somebody knows their class. So, and if they really don't, instead of being a jerk, why don't you ask, hey, do you need some help? Like, send them a whisper and be like, hey, I noticed you weren't using, this ability. Do you have any questions? I mean, be nice, lend a hand. But Crow really does put it all into perspective, on why the sky isn't going to fall. But I do agree with you guys. I think that there should be some type of gateway if they're going to offer purchasing future tokens to raise your character up to, level 90, or in the future level 100, or however high we end up going, right?
Yep.
Maybe you should be required, like with Death Knights, that you have to have at least one max level character.
Well, with Death Knights, you didn't even need a max level character.
No, you had to at least be up to
55.
55, yeah.
You had to have a 55 on that server, and then you could make a Death Knight who was 55.
So for a 90 token, you have to have at least one level 90 on that server of that faction or whatever, right? Like, find some way to gateway it. Just to, keep people from going altaholic in the higher end side, as opposed to, a bunch of level 1s. They've got a bunch of level 90s that, have, starting apprentice gear. However Blizzard does it, just wait and see. Don't start a panic yet. They haven't actually said they're going to start selling the tokens in the store.
Yeah.
So let's not count our chickens and all that. Just I guess wait and see. Now, you did bring up a good point though, Sosa, and I know this was brought up with Blizz Pro as we were talking about the whole idea behind all of this, offering a free 90 right away. You like to purchase the box.
Yep.
So you're gonna have to wait.
I'm fine with that. But there's going to be complaints from other people who are like, well, the digital people get it, so why don't I get it? And I have to, do all that. But honestly, I want the box.
There was actually a good point brought up that, because you get it at pre-order, if you pre-order it and, when it, but say...
The pre-order place could potentially give you a code.
Right. Well,
they do that for other games.
So what if Blizzard somehow clarifies, okay, if you want the collector's box, right? You want the art book, you want all the stuff, but you want your token and you want your mount, you want your pet now. They can set up something to where you can either get a refund for your pre-purchase, but you're just not able to use your box set code that gives you the token, or gives you, what if they set it up that way, that if it was its own code, the token?
See, I could see it being more, like they would give, if you did the pre-order thing, you would get the first collector's editions out there didn't say have a pre-order token, or if you already used it, then the one in your box was void. Mm-hmm. But if you went into GameStop and pre-ordered and on your receipt you got a code that you could
Right.
take straight home and enter into your Blizz account, and you got your free 90. But then when I got Warlords of Draenor, I got my box set and I put in the disc and I loaded it all up. It went, oh, you've already used your token, your 90's already on, so the one that's here on the disc isn't going to work, so whatever.
Ro actually just brought up a really good point. With Mists of Pandaria, if you pre-purchase digitally and then bought the collector's edition, you get the digital pre-order credited as game time. So so that money you spent on your pre-order
would be all converted to game time. So
yes,
if
it would
the
be game
expansion
credit.
was 30, so if the expansion was say $30,
well, the
and
digital, which usually comes with the stuff, like the mount and the pet, like if you
oh
want
yeah, the
mount and pet,
collectors, yeah,
that's
the
$59.
so it'd be like $60. So if I got the actual box set and installed it later,
That's 4
that
months.
digital prepaid would go to 4 months. I like
4
that
months of game time.
actually. I like that, Ro.
I think
really
they did
like
that with Diablo too. I think it's something one of the Blizz Pro staff members was making kind of. They did that with Diablo as well.
They gave you money for your auction house,
Yeah.
I just yeah.
or no, it was for when you bought Diablo. If you I think it was with Diablo 3. If you pre-ordered the digital, but ended up getting the collector's box, you got the refund back as game time.
But you don't pay for game time in Diablo.
Or something. I don't remember what it was.
I'd assume it'd be gold for the auction house, but
yeah, they gave you some type of credit. I remember that. I just don't remember the exact comment, but they did say something about it.
Yeah, if they do that, then I might pre-purchase the collector. I don't know if I would. I don't have a lot of money.
Yeah,
I usually tend to save up, go pay off
Yeah.
my collector's edition, and wait for the box to come out. But yeah, if they do that, Ro, that would be excellent, and that would definitely be something we would have to get out, let people know as a community, because I didn't know about that in the Mists of Pandaria pre-orders. So if they do
Yeah.
that, and that should definitely be something that Blizz Pro and all the other places should be putting out, so that way people will know and people could be like, yes, I'll pre-order my thing, I'll get my stuff, and then I'll buy the collector's edition box later and get that money back as game time.
Yeah, no, it's I think, again, let's not count the chickens before they're hatched. Blizzard hasn't actually put any character, level upgrades in the Blizzard store yet. They haven't, said that they have plans for it, I don't believe. Yeah, I'm a potty mouth, Liz. Sorry. So yeah, I mean it's really just down to let's see what they do.
Yeah.
I really think that Blizzard's going to handle this, effectively.
Yeah,
we
just have to have faith.
They're not going to alienate everybody. I mean, obviously, when they make a decision to do something, they're going to alienate some people. I mean,
Yes.
there were a lot of people. How many people were like, pandas? I don't want to play with pandas.
Yeah.
Before they even really saw it. So, let's give this a chance and see what they do. It could be good in the long run for everybody, especially if you have a friend who's been wanting to play but is daunted by the fact that it's still going to take quite a bit of time to level up to where you are.
Yeah.
So wow, we had I think one of the best responses to our question of the week ever. So for Dear Gamers this week, we asked if you feel there is a difference between online friends and face-to-face friends. I've seen comments throughout Twitter and here and there of people talking about family members, particularly older family members who don't game at all, who don't understand why you want to hang out with those people online and sort of use that term of, real friends. So I decided to ask what the community thought, if there is a difference between your online buddies and your face-to-face friends that you can go down to, the bowling alley with or wherever, right? So we got quite a few responses. So the tweet responses we got, let's see, we have Faye Mercurial said, nope, those are still people on the other side. Very true. Besso YT, yay, Besso, we love you. I know you had to raid tonight, so you couldn't be here, but just giving you the shout out anyway.
No excuses, Besso.
She said only that they are usually not within face-to-face range of hanging out. That is a good difference, yes.
Yeah.
I consider my online friends just as important / real. And our very favorite Storm Razor one, hey Stormy, our favorite Death Knight of all. He says, nah, because I know a few of my online friends IRL, and I'd hang out with everyone else too, given the opportunity. So yeah, that doesn't look like there's much of a difference. Geeky, why don't you read what Mark had to say from Facebook?
He said not at all, but what most people confuse the difference between friends and acquaintances. I have good friends in several countries, born out of the days of IRC, but I get together every couple of years and see my US and Canadian friends. Like anything, you get out what you put in.
That is very true. Very, very true. And Sosa, why don't you let us know what our email had to say?
Our email was from, I'm going to guess, gentleman named Hans.
Hans.
Who goes, of course they are, but this is not necessarily bad. I mean, with face-to-face friends, you must look for common likes and start creating a relationship. With online people, you're already doing what you both enjoy, and sometimes you get measured by that. With real people, you get involved in activities that are so great and can't be reproduced easily online. On the other hand, you have the liberty to express yourself in game more freely. I think online interactions have helped me a lot with my shyness. I understand that. I've got the same issue. And my English. To this date, I still talk with some old guilds from around the world. They are different, but both are great in my opinion.
And that is very true. My husband is actually not very much of a social butterfly face to face, but get him on Mumble, and well, so you know how he is. My wonderful Al, he's especially get a few drinks of rum in him. Oh, watch out!
Hey, that sounds like Friday night in Mumble here.
Yes, he's a load of fun. The more rum he has in him. But no, it really is. I think what you make of it. This isn't the old days of, playing, trade wars. We're not really talking to anybody. You're just sort of shooting each other. And making, very simple, quick taunts at each other. We have Mumble, we have, Vent or whatever, you want to use to talk to people. Plus there's all the chat options in game itself. We have Twitter, we have Facebook. It's easy to get to know people. And even if you never see them, you're still interacting with them. You're still getting to know them. And at some point you end up talking about, your cats or your kids. And on cue, here comes a kitty, I think. Yes, kitty. Oh, that kitty looks so much like my husband's old cat, Jasper.
His name is Pecan, and he's a little pain in my butt. But anyway, back to what you were saying.
Yes. So, it doesn't matter. You spend enough time with a group of people, you're going to be talking about yourself. And that's, how you get to know each other. And it's in some ways, I think, Hans, said it's right. You can be a little more free when you're on a keyboard. You're not face to face with somebody. You don't have that pressure of being judged because of the way your hair looks, or because you are out of shape, or you like to wear penny loafers or whatever, right? It's being judged by your character.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether you've got online friends, face-to-face friends, or they're one and the same, friends are good to have. And I think that is what's really important, is just, cultivating those friendships. And, Mark on Facebook, you get out what you put in.
Yeah.
So, hey, more power to everybody. And speaking of hair, did everyone see Sosa's blue hair? Is that not cool? She's got the blue streak of doom. That is awesome.
I did it. I finally did it.
Sosa is.
That's how cold it is.
Yes,
My
it is
hair is
that
going
cold. Her
blue.
hair turned blue. All right. Well, I wanted to say thank you to everyone who is listening to us later. And of course, thank you to our wonderful chat room. We love you very much, guys. If you want to see more of what Blizzard has been up to at the minute it's happening, you can go to blizzpro.com. They have all the latest news as soon as it happens. They're very good at getting accurate articles up, and we have a lot of very talented writers, so please check out blizzpro.com. You can also follow BlizzPro on Twitter at BlizzPro and keep track of news stories that way, or we can be in your Facebook. Go to Facebook and look for BlizzPro and give us a like, and you will be connected to all of our stories as soon as they are up. Just to let you know, BlizzPro does have a lot of shows other than just us here at the Spotlight. We do, of course, have the wonderful flagship show Twizcast, who without Twiz, none of us would be here.
Don't tell him that.
I know, we'll give him a big
Yeah.
head. He doesn't need to have his ego boosted.
Yeah.
We do have, of course, the Edge. If you want to know about a class and a spec with a lot of really good witty banter, then please check out the Edge. We, of course, have the news show, Hearthstone Happy Hour, which is tomorrow, starting at 9 p.m. Central. And the Edge
Warning,
is...
not for the faint of heart, children, or anyone who can't stand a bunch of people playing Hearthstone really badly while drunk.
But if you do want to actually learn a few tricks here and there, or learn what not to do, then watch Hearthstone Happy Hour. You may learn a few things. And the Edge is 9 p.m. Central Time on Tuesdays. And then, of course, there is the BlizzPro Weekly show that gets put up every week. It is a non-live show, but it is the best 15 to 20 minutes you will spend learning about what's going on in the world of Blizzard. If you want to get a hold of us, of course, you can email us at spotlight@blizzpro.com, or you can reach us on Twitter at Spotlight, capital P. Kiki, we are signing off. What would you like to leave us with, sir?
For those who play Warcraft in the Blizzard universe, try something different this week. Whether that would be transmogging something, or pet battles, or PvP if you don't PvP. Something different might keep your interest in the game going a little bit longer. I know during this period of expansion, we all kind of have our doubts about why we are still playing right now when there's so much lag time between expansions. So mixing things up is always a good thing.
It is, indeed. So what about you? What would you like to leave our dear listeners with?
Stay positive. It is just a game, everyone. And always remember, Sosa loves you. Yes, even you.
And as for me, Daryl, I haven't been playing as much, I admit. But, oh yeah, it's because I have a cast. I can't hold the mouse. Little hard to raid when you can't hold a mouse. But I am working on learning to hold my mouse with my toes, so we'll see how that goes. However, if you find out I'm in the hospital again, you know that it failed horribly and I fell out of my chair. In all seriousness, though, thank you guys. You are the reason that we are here. We love to hear all of your thoughts, your opinions, your comments on everything that is going on. And remember, your opinion does matter, and we will make sure that everyone hears about it. Thank you, everyone. You have a wonderful night. Yes, even you, Ro.
Bye.
Good night, everyone.
The forums.
The streamers.
The blogs.
The gamer.
The tweets.
The streamers.
The role players.
The player.
The forums.
The bad.
The blogs.
The good.
The enthusiast.
The spotlight.
The spotlight.
The spotlight.